Let me ask you a few questions. We're gonna figure out if this game is for you. Have you enjoyed the other Pokemon games on the Switch? If you have, then yes, you will enjoy this game without a doubt. Are you a returning Pokemon player after many, many years, like over 10? Then yes, you will probably enjoy the game. More questions. Have you been waiting for Pokemon to return to greatness like it was back in the glory days? Then no, this game probably isn't for you. There's so much complexity to this game, which makes me feel like it's one of the best Pokemon games I've played in a while, but also one of the worst. I will be telling you about my experience with the game and give my honest, unfiltered opinions. And believe me, I have a lot of them. I've been playing Pokemon my entire life. Before I hop into the review of the game, where we will be going over gameplay, graphics, etc., I want to shout out one more group of people who might be watching this video. Do you have a friend who is super into Pokemon, but you personally could go either way with the franchise? Honestly, you should buy the game. The multiplayer really makes this game shine. I'll talk about that more later. And finally, do you have a significant other who loves Pokemon? You should absolutely buy this game. It's a must-buy for couples. I promise you, you won't regret it. Now it's time to begin the review. I will try not to spoil anything important past the first missions in each of the story branches. Graphics. They're horrible. However, they do have a little charm to them. I'm not quite sure how to describe it. A few years ago, I would have roasted the game's visuals by calling it a mobile game, but now mobile games look pretty good, so I don't know how I can appropriately roast the graphics. They look unfinished and really rough. I get the Switch is a weak system and it's getting old and probably we're getting a new Nintendo console fairly soon, but plenty of Switch games with a similar scope look awesome, so I think we can safely blame Game Freak for just not optimizing the game. Speaking of optimizations, the game runs horribly. It is a super common occurrence to see low frame rates at any time, especially when in the cities. I guess all those NPCs have way too many polygons or something. I'm not going to go much further into graphics, as I'm sure many other reviews and discussions online have already exhausted this subject, so just keep in mind, the game looks bad and runs terribly. But that doesn't mean it's a bad game. Gameplay. Everyone cares about gameplay the most. Like Reggie once said, if the game isn't fun, then what's the point? The gameplay is pretty solid. It's business per usual. Turn-based battles like we have seen for ages. However, what happens outside the battles is where the fun lies. The freedom. This is the first Pokemon game in a decade where I felt like I wasn't being babied the entire time. While the intro is a bit slow, it's not unusual in Pokemon for that to be the case. Once you advance the story, the game really just lets you go. There's no obnoxious mandatory missions that feel like they take away your flow. When you're gaming, you want to get into a flow state, where you just get lost in the experience and have fun. This game gives it to you. When you want to advance to a new area, the most the game will do is stop you for a quick text from an NPC that feels pretty relevant, and then you're back into the action again. The game has 3 main objectives you can pick from. Technically 4 if you count just doing your own thing. You can conquer all 8 gyms and become champion, pretty standard. You can hunt down the Titans and acquire abilities that let you explore in more ways than just running around. And you can infiltrate Team Star bases and get some pretty sweet rewards. I won't go into much further detail so you can have some fun surprises for yourself, but the things you unlock actually feel rewarding and worth your time. This is one of the main things I love about the game. Pokemon kinda treats you like an adult here. Another thing I want to bring up is the sense of discovery you get in the game. It's so awesome, and what makes it even more stupid fun is the crazy glitches in this game. In this game, you can get to areas you're not supposed to be in yet by backwards jumping up slopes. Yeah, like Mario 64 speedruns. I haven't found a way to actually break the game with this method, like maybe accessing a cutscene before you're actually supposed to be there, but it was pretty cool to be in areas where I wasn't supposed to be, and it gave me the thrill of being a mischievous kid again. To summarize, if all of that sounds interesting or fun, then you should absolutely buy the game. However, if you're still unconvinced, I have a few more goodies you might want to know about. Multiplayer. This is what added a whole 1.5 points to my score of the game. You can invite up to 3 friends to join you in your world and just explore together. Even if you need to do mainline story quests, you can just do them on your own while you're in your friend's world. I think this makes the flow so much smoother. I wish other games took notes on this. Looking at you, Monster Hunter World. The fun of multiplayer not only comes from playing with someone else, but also the goofiness of how unpolished the game is. I love being in Pokemon battles and just seeing my friends run around in the background or start hovering for no reason. It adds more things to laugh about. From hunting Pokemon to doing Terra raids together, there never seems to be an end to the fun. Did anyone mention how big the game world is? I can't get over just how massive this map is, and it excited me every time I opened it. Okay, we're having way too much fun. Time to crush your dreams. Music. It's trash. While music is incredibly subjective, not once did I hear anyone mention how good the music is, when that is definitely a major positive thing in Pokemon's history. Only once or twice did I find myself going, wow, this song is pretty good. I'm not super picky when it comes to music either. I like most music in Nintendo games, but this game really didn't leave any good impressions with the music. It kinda reminds me of how I felt about Animal Crossing New Horizons music. It just didn't live up to the standards of the franchise. Lightning round. There is so much quality of life in this game, it blew my mind. After playing Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I wasn't quite sure how much more quality of life they could cram into the franchise, but boy did they do it here. You don't even need to learn the TM Fly to fast travel around the world, it's just built in. You can now even craft TMs, which is crazy if you ask me. Speaking of TMs, you can now just forget and relearn moves on your own. Like, I couldn't believe that either. Something I really like about this game is the whole choose your own adventure theme. I get it, pretty much every major Nintendo game on the Switch has had the theme of open world and kind of doing your own thing, but it was pretty refreshing to see it in a mainline Pokemon game that wasn't a spin-off like Pokemon Arceus Legends. And they really meant it. You can literally go anywhere you want, when you want, and that freedom is just so fun, so everyone's experience will be different. I spent the majority of my playthrough in multiplayer, and it was really fun to just kind of roam around and go, oh hey, there's something in the distance. Let's go explore that. And our journey just kind of flowed like water, just from one place to a next, and that freedom was just, it was so nice. Something I really didn't like about this game, and this might be a nitpick, but it just felt weird. Most of the random residential houses in the game can't be entered. And it's really strange, especially when you're used to walking in all the buildings and talking to the random NPCs inside their houses. So I'm not quite sure why this decision was made, but maybe it was for the best considering that you don't have to go through a loading screen every time you want to talk to an NPC, you can just talk to them outside in the streets. But it still felt kind of strange, especially when you're used to the older Pokemon games. If you decide to buy this game, a quick little golden nugget I'll give you is you need to restart the game every 1 to 2 hours. Now this might be fixed with an update, but there's something about playing the game for a prolonged period of time which causes it to lag more and more and more to the point where it kind of becomes unplayable. After reading a lot of feedback from people, I learned that if you reset the game every 1 to 2 hours, this issue isn't as noticeable. The fact that we have to do something like that for a game that costs $60 is, whew, I have some feelings about that, but I mean, you didn't come here to hear me rant. I wanted to bring up character customization at some point in this video. The character customization in terms of like hair, eyes, face shape, things like that, it's pretty good. You can really make a character that looks like you, which is not something I was used to seeing in Pokemon. And while there are a lot of accessories to try on, like shoes, backpacks, glasses, and hats, Something that you need to know is that outfit you see everyone wearing in their playthroughs, yeah, you can't change that. I'm not quite sure what drove Game Freak to make a decision like that, but yeah, you only get to pick from 4 different uniforms based on the seasons, and that's it. The colors are preset, and if you get Pokemon Scarlet, you're stuck wearing clown pants. Those red pants look awful. I'm kinda happy I picked Violet as my game. This is the first Pokemon game I have ever wanted to finish in over 10 years. I usually have to force myself to see it through, but seeing how grand the world is and having someone to explore it with really makes this such a fun and unique experience. This game is definitely a must-buy if you too also have someone to share that experience with. Everyone else, if you're rolling solo, I hope my insight helped you make your decision. I don't think the game isn't worth buying if you have to do it solo, but you will have to try and see past the flaws. And Game Freak did a great job at making sure those flaws were very obvious. I personally give this game a 7.8 out of 10. You see, the funny thing is, as I'm sitting here recording this and thinking, this game could easily be fixed with a few updates and patches, but given Game Freak's history, we all know that isn't going to happen. I wish there was some way that us consumers could vote with our wallets and tell Game Freak that what they're doing is unacceptable. But unfortunately, Pokemon Sword and Shield was the greatest selling Pokemon game in history. And that's just really sad. Well, subscribe if you like Pokemon, because I have a super cool video coming up about the Switch and Pokemon. Try to guess what it is. And if you're right, I'll heart your comment. See you guys later. Bye-bye.